So good evening, everyone. Welcome to our fourth time out. They say you can't get too much of a good thing, so here we go again. So back in November, we spoke to GB players Joe and Sarah, and then last month we spoke to GB coaches Faye and Aaron. They're all available on our YouTube channel. If you've not seen them, you've still got the chance to do that. So it seemed logical this evening, having spoken to players and coaches, to kind of finish off the happy trio and speak to some officials, because without officials, you've not really got a tournament. Well, you're certainly not going to have a fair tournament anyway. So they're a vital part of Goalball UK and the work that we do. So in the publicity for this evening's event, we've said it's not about the rules of the game. So Stephen and Robert are not here with their IBSA rule books. It's more a conversation about the wider role of officials, and hopefully just educating everyone about the value of officials, which hopefully people will be aware of, and maybe inspire you to get involved once you know what's kind of involved in officiating. So enough of me rambling on anyway. Let's get down to business and say good evening to Robert.
Good evening.
And good evening to Stephen.
Evening.
So we went with Robert and Stephen because they're both at kind of different parts in their officiating journey at the moment. It makes sense to start off with the beginning, and perfectly, a question came in from Alex from Croyset, just saying, how did you both get involved in refereeing? So that seems the perfect place to start. So Robert, tell me the first bit of your story, please.
First bit of my story. Well, I got into refereeing because we started the Goalball Club at York St John, thanks to a couple of my students who were very keen to get something set up, and I got into coaching. And then I had the opportunity to do the referees course, and I thought, well, that sounds like a good idea, because if I know the rules really well, I know how far I can bend them when I'm coaching and not get penalised by Dina, particularly. So because we all know how scary Dina can be at times especially when she's refereeing. So you don't take any nonsense. So I thought,
well, joking aside, there, Rob, that's a really important point, isn't it? That you may not want to be an official, but having knowledge of the rules helps you both as a player and as a coach.
I think really, really, really important. Yes, if you don't know what you can do on court or as a coach if you don't really understand the rules. And I think going through that process, so just for me, it was the obvious thing to do. Was right first thing. How do I make myself the best coach I can be? Well, learn the rules, and then you know what you can get away with. But you also then know what your players can do. And it really, I think it informs you during the whole coaching process as well within that. And players then learn a lot from that process during training as well.
Perfect. And yourself and Stephen, we know you started back at Goalball in 2018, was it? Summer of 2018. So how did you find yourself wearing the red t-shirt?
Yeah, so I started at the organisation in July 2018, and then mid to end of August 2018, I can't remember exactly when it was now, we were hosting our summer camp and running an officials course at that. So I was on there doing the officials course within the first month of employment at Goalball UK. And then by September, I'd refereed a tournament as well. But I would reiterate what Rob said, it's really useful to do the officiating course to know the rules, because before I'd started at Goalball UK, I hadn't really heard of Goalball that much. So it was actually a really good bit of development for myself as an employee to learn about the sport from an official's point of view. And then I can use those skills when I'm teaching in schools or running a club session or things like that. So
in at the deep end, worth it. Yeah. So for yourself, Robert, I know you've got a background in teaching, and then also you've got a bit of cricket umpiring. So I suppose standing up and speaking out and being authoritative, you'd got a bit of experience, but was that obviously beneficial? But do you think it was vital?
I don't think it was vital, no. I mean, my background goes way back into, I am what most people probably know now as a rovie. I don't like the term. But yes, rehabilitation work. I've been involved in vision impairment since 1983, which is a scary thought. I'm only 27 in my head, so the maths doesn't quite work these days. But no, I think it was one of these things that, as an official, I think there's a degree of having a degree of confidence, but knowing the rules really well is just so important when you're officiating, and then being able to stay calm under pressure. And particularly as we'll come on to later, I no doubt about the international stuff, because coaches do like to put you under pressure at the international stage. But the domestic coaches tend to be pretty good, I have to say.
Well, some of them.
Some of them, yeah. I mean, what can I say?
So same kind of question to you, Stephen. Have you had any prior experience of officiating sports?
Other than being a sports coach and refereeing a football game, well, refereeing in air quotes, a football game at an after-school club, prior to being a Goalball UK official, I hadn't, no, like real experience of officiating, no.
Yeah, so that's not an excuse people can hide behind. You can come in and just learn on the job and pick it up as you go along. Yeah,
very definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so you both kind of started those journeys and got involved in Goalball UK tournament. So you've seen, Robert, the bright lights of Sheffield, Bristol, Birmingham, Peterborough. Where have you gone beyond that, and how did that all begin?
How did that all begin? Well, we have to blame Dina for that one totally. When I did my referee's course, she seemed to think I had some sort of ability. I'm not quite sure where she saw that from.
We're probably just desperate, to be honest, at the time.
Well, possibly, yeah. So she encouraged me to do my IBSA level 1 and then my IBSA level 2 the following year, and then dragged me off to Bruges to referee a tournament over there, which was my first international event, handily on my doorstep, I thought. And Judith came with us as well. And what was my first game? Refereeing Finland, Paralympic champions. And so nothing quite like being chucked in at the deep end there. So Bruges, then we've been to where I've been to the States, refereed over there, various places around Europe. Malmo is quite a regular one, because obviously they have a lot of tournaments over there. And Dina and I, just in that sort of first year after that, went over to 2015, I think it was. We went to Bulgaria and did a seminar over a few days with the whole of Bulgarian Goalball, which was a really interesting event for the weekend. And then they had the women's tournament on running that weekend, so we then refereed that and brought some referees through and encouraged other countries, which was quite a nice experience, I have to say.
Yeah. And just going back to Bruges, did you come back with a suitcase full of chocolate? I mean, that's an incentive to go there, surely.
Well, you see, I got cunning with Bruges. I drove over on the ferry.
Oh, boot full of chocolate.
So no, yeah, not just
and Belgian lagers, yes.
Yes.
So, Stephen, what about yourself? We know you've done elite tournaments domestically. Have you done any international Goalball yet?
No, not yet. So I got my level 1 in February 2020. And then I was supposed to be going to Lithuania, but then, as we know, the world kind of came to a pause. So I've not done any international yet, but it is something that I'd like to do in the future. Yeah.
Have you been Have you been involved in any international teams over here? I know you're involved in the home nations, but most of those players play domestically. But have you seen at the Goalball Cup or anywhere, or training camps, have you come across any international teams?
Yes, I've seen an officiated Denmark playing at a Finding the Next training camp.
Yeah, because again, linking it back to the playing and coaching element, that's also a way, isn't it, just to see how else Goalball is played. And like what we said in the previous time out, the players, about encouraging them to go along to, maybe if you're a novice player, to go along to elite tournament just to expand your knowledge. It's the same with officials, isn't it? We know what Goalball's like in this country, but actually seeing it in other countries as well just teaches us more things. So you both mentioned your IBSA qualified referee, so we'll just kind of elaborate on what that means exactly. So as things stand at Goalball UK tournaments, we have our activators, and we're shortly going to be introducing an introduction to officiating course, which Alex is going to tell us a bit more about at the end of tonight's session. So that's kind of an entry point into the sport, and no prior knowledge is needed. From that, you can become a Goalball UK referee and get involved in domestic tournaments. And then there's the option, isn't there, to then step up onto the IBSA pathway. So maybe, Stephen, if you tell us a little bit to begin with about your level 1, because that was relatively recent too, about what's involved, and then we'll hear about level 2 and 3 from Robert.
Yeah, so in level 1, sort of go into the rules in a bit more depth. So you start learning a bit more about things that you might not do at like a novice level. So like medical timeouts and things like that don't really crop up that often. And you start learning about like medical substitutions and just going into a bit more depth. And then you have like an exam on some of the rules to test your knowledge, and then like a practical exam as well. So you're observed by whoever is leading the clinic, which in my case was Dina.
So you just come with a bunch of flowers and a box of chocolates and you pass then, is that how it works?
Off the record, maybe.
With the exam, is that open book, or is that something you really have to study for? Is it, I suppose what I'm asking is it hard, or do they set it up so, you have to pass what they want you to pass?
Yeah, you set up with the knowledge that you need. There's not any trick questions, and I think it's open book, as it was only last year, but I think it was open book level 1.
Yeah, and what's kind of the requirement to maintain that level? Do you have to officiate a set number of games, or?
Yeah, so there's something called the IBSA passport that you have to maintain a certain level of games. Can't remember off the top of my head what it is for each level.
But it's obviously doable. So if we take it to level 2 and then level 3, Rob, is it a similar kind of process there in terms of examination and observation and things?
Very, very similar process, yes. So we run through, well, for the level 3, certainly was a couple of days that we were I was in Lithuania for that. And again, you go through the exam process for level 2. It's a closed book exam. You're expected to know the rules far better by the time you get to that point. And then you're observed refereeing a number of games then, and that assessment then is you either achieve the pass standard or you don't. Level 3, they introduce an additional bit around the written questions, so you get some scenarios, but you also have some additional questions, and the pass mark gets a lot higher. So I think the lowest pass mark in any of those the 3 areas of assessment is 90%, and 96% for one of them. So it's there's not really a lot of room to make mistakes when you get up to level 3.
It's a bottle of wine as well as chocolates and flowers for Dina. It's a little bit more.
Oh, 2 bottles.
2 bottles, fair enough.
Yeah. So and being international, I can't be assessed by Dina because she's obviously a UK official. So and as it turned out, the clinic I booked into, Dina was meant to be running, so they had to ship in the international chair of Goalball to do my practical assessment. So it was a neutral assessor. So
yeah, pressure.
Oh, no pressure at all. Yeah, so you're being assessed by the guy who sits at the top of the tree. So, but yeah, it was good. Very, very, very interesting and very challenging at that level to get through. But if you put in the effort and really study the rules and learn them, then there's no reason why you can't pass. It's and Dina is brilliant as a teacher, I have to say. I have to say that because she's here, obviously. But
well, I think everyone in Goalball knows that anyway, don't they? So we know that. In terms of the rules, then, how frequently are they updated? I know I've been involved for a few years now, and I've seen a few cycled. So how often does that happen, Robert?
That's every 4 years. So they generally run through a cycle up to the Olympic Games, and then for the next World Championships, the rules have changed. So you're always coming into the Worlds with a completely different set of rules in your head. And for us, of course, domestically, that always happens right in the middle of the season because it starts from the 1st of January. So we're halfway through a season. And there's always that challenge then of players are used to playing under the old rules, but we're now officiating internationally under the new rules, but we're not necessarily doing it domestically. So for those of us, and you'll have this to look forward to, Stephen, it's almost having 2 sets of rules in your head sometimes for some aspects of it. But we had some really big changes after 2012. That was a big one that they shifted a lot of the rules, and there were some very, very big changes then. But the last one wasn't that massive, other than taking the line away, really. So.
Yeah. So from your perspective, Stephen, do you have aspirations to keep progressing up the levels? Speaking from a personal point of view, I was at IBSA level 1. A long time ago now, probably 15 years or so ago, and I was just content refereeing domestically, so I decided not to kind of pursue those levels. But yourself, is that something you'd like to do? Would you like to kind of eventually get to Paralympic Games?
Yeah, I think so. I'd really be interested in taking up an opportunity to do some international refereeing now that I'm a level 1. And if I enjoy that, yeah, I definitely would love to be at Paralympic Games one day.
Yeah, yeah, the end goal. So coming back to you, Robert, with Europeans, we know there's the C's, the B's and the A's. So what involvement have you had so far in European Championships?
Well, I kind of had almost the perfect developmental curve with that. The European C's in 2013, and Dina got myself and Judith and Sue to do the 10-seconding right across the tournament. So I got plenty of practice at 10-second timing. 2 years later, I got selected to referee at the European C's, which were held in Malmo. Following year, I was selected as a table official to go to Poland for the B's. But as it happened, somebody dropped out, so they asked me to whistle instead. So I then got that experience at the European B level. And the year after that, I was whistling at the European A's. So it was just that perfect development right the way through, and increasing standard of goalball to referee. So I consider myself very fortunate, because obviously we're very, very lucky in Europe. We have so many countries and so many levels of competition to referee at. So elsewhere in the world, you get chucked in at the deep end and that's it. So I think we're in a very, very fortunate position here in Europe.
So you said you got selected. Is it as simple as that, or do you kind of put your name forward and kind of apply, and then it's a long list from which people are selected?
Yeah, you basically, the call comes out for referees if you to express an interest in refereeing at a tournament, and then we put our names in, and somebody makes a decision. Dina will know more about how that process all operates, but I just put my name in the hat, and if my name comes out, then I'm lucky enough I go. I'm very supportive at work, I have to say. They're very generous about letting me have additional time off if I need it.
Yeah, we'll come back to international goalball. I'm thinking where goalball's going to take you next soon, hopefully later this year. We'll just come back to domestic goalball for a bit, and back to you, Stephen. So, it's, what inspires you to get out of bed on a Saturday morning at 6 o'clock and drive down to Bristol for a full-on day of goalball? Why volunteer to officiate? It's early starts, late finishes, on your feet all day. I think it's fair to say rubbish packed lunches sometimes, and also not always respected by or appreciated by everyone there. Minority, I say, but sometimes it does happen. So why do you do it? It's not in your contract, is it? So what do you get from it? Why do you enjoy it?
Without being cliche, like, it is the goalball family. Like, there is an officiating family as well. We're all good friends, and we all go down there for like the social aspect as well, and talking to the players as well. Like, I really enjoy that aspect of it, and to be honest, I just enjoy refereeing as well.
Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, we just kind of mentioned refereeing, but we know it's officiating as a whole, and there's actually an army of 10 people, isn't there, to make a game happen. So, Robert, maybe if you just briefly tell us what the goal judges do. We kind of try and have them in domestic tournaments, lurking by goal posts, but what is their role officially?
Well, the role officially there is to basically to judge when a goal ball has crossed the line, and raise their hand to signify a goal has got in. And other than that, it's retrieving the ball when it goes off court and dropping it back in on the wing line. And that's the bulk of it. And obviously assisting them with substitutions, so guiding players on and off between the court and the bench.
Pretty straightforward role then, that again, not really any experience is required for.
No, I think it's one of those things that you get better at the more you do, though.
Yeah. Sight obviously is important for that role, but we do have, I think we had some B1 judges in the past, haven't we, domestically? I don't think you get those at Paralympic Games, do you? But it's a role that anyone can get involved in. And then what about the table, Stephen? I made a joke in the promo that went out over the last couple of days about what the table officials do other than eat chocolates and sound silly hooters. So can you kind of enlighten us as to who these people are at the table and what they do other than eat chocolates and sound silly hooters?
Do you want me to go for the entire table?
Well, if you'd like to.
I'll try. Yeah, so you've got the 10-second timers. Pretty self-explanatory, that one. So they're in charge of monitoring the 10-second clock for one team. So you're sat on the end of the table and you'll be monitoring the team that's closest to you for the 10-second rule, which is first contact, start the watch. And then when the ball crosses the centre line, you stop the watch. And if it's over 10 seconds, it's a penalty. You've also got...
So sight is needed for that role then, yes. Yeah, okay.
Some sight is needed for that one, yeah. You've also got the scorer, who's in charge of noting down the scores on the score sheet, as well as timeouts, substitutions, and also like medical timeouts and substitutions as well. So some sight is needed for that in terms of being able to write down in the boxes. And then you've also got the main timer, who's in charge of the main clock, updating the scores, starting and stopping the clock as the game is happening. And we've actually got tactile scoreboards, so anybody can do the main timing.
Yeah, and just to kind of reassure people, hopefully you're going to back me up here and I'm not by myself. We've all made silly mistakes, but we've all survived, and you will sometimes forget to press the clock button. You will sometimes give the goal to the opposition on the scoreboard. You will sometimes forget to blow your whistle and say play. Robert's nodding with me. So it's not one strike and you're out, is it? It goes back to that family thing. I think we appreciate people helping out, and as you become more experienced, you'll make less mistakes. You probably will make some mistakes. In my case, you do anyway. So it's yeah.
Yeah.
So
it wouldn't be the first time I've forgotten to start the stopwatch for 10 seconds either.
Yeah.
Stephen shaking his head there.
Probably not the last either for me.
No.
You get distracted by the chocolate sometimes, don't you? And that's it.
Always, yes.
Or if it's an official I've not seen for a while, we'll end up chin wagging quietly, and then we forget we're supposed to be officiating a game and not catch up. So
yeah, I think it's also fair to say that we're very supportive of each other on the table. So if somebody does make a mistake, then we will help each other out. And if we have somebody who doesn't have full sight, someone on the table will say which player number was involved in a goal being scored, for example. So,
and that's true with the actual refereeing as well, isn't it? That you always work in a pair. And again, I've done it when I've missed the call or my partner's missed the call, and you kind of say it for each other and have a laugh and a giggle and get on with it. So I reckon even Dean has done it sometimes. Surely she must have done it once.
Oh, I've witnessed Dina making the odd mistake.
Good.
Rare,
Good.
but yeah.
She's not as perfect as we thought, then, eh? Yeah.
So 99.8% perfect, probably.
So in terms of officiating, we've said anyone can give it a go, but are there some kind of key skills characteristics that you kind of look out for? And obviously getting involved can help you develop those skills as well, but what would you say some of the key things are, Stephen, when you're officiating?
Communication. So if you're whistling in the middle, you need to have good communication skills and be able to project your voice. But again, that's something you can develop as you're going along. Concentration is key, especially at all levels, to be fair. So different things arise in an elite game to a novice game that requires concentration and confidence, but that comes with knowing the rules when you're in the middle, and that helps build your confidence and you're making the right decision.
Yeah, that sounds like a good list to me. Is there anything missing there, Robert? I think he's covered most of the points.
No, I think just the confidence and being calm. I think that you need to really be confident what you're saying, but come across very calm. And particularly when situations can get a little bit heated on occasion between players, and the odd player who really doesn't like the decision you've given. I can think of an incident in the past of somebody, despite wearing eye shades, trying to stare me out. Which wasn't one they were ever going to win, I'm afraid. But it was just I just stood there and okay, well, if you want to, that's fine. But yeah, speaking to that player after the event, he just acknowledged that actually he felt for him it was easier trying to blame the official for what had happened rather than blaming himself for the mistake he'd made.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but it's sport, and we all get passionate, don't we, when we're playing sport, and kind of understand it. In goalball, we don't have the benefit of action replays or VAR to help out, do we? So it's the referee's decision is final almost, and You know, you've got to be confident in it, and players have to respect that and realise that at times it may have been an error, but it wasn't an intentional error. So, or hopefully it wasn't.
No, and I think that's the thing is, you know, we all make mistakes and we acknowledge that we make mistakes. You know, we're not perfect, but you know, it will always be a genuine mistake if somebody gets a call wrong or misses a high ball or a long ball or whatever. You know, it's not because we're deliberately setting out to undermine one team or another. It is just a genuine mistake on the day. At the end of the
So,
day, though, I've made a decision and I'm right.
yeah. So internationally, Robert, a lot of the games now are live streamed. So is that something you'd do afterwards? Would you maybe look back at a game and try and reflect on it and learn from it a little bit? And
Oh, I watch every single game that I've seen that I've been live streamed in. I've watched back just to see how I've done, how I've performed. Was there anything I could have done differently? Any calls I missed? And there was one particularly in the World Championships that I missed a long ball because I got behind the travel of the ball because I was convinced it was a high ball at the other end and I didn't track it properly. So I couldn't give the long ball that it actually was, having seen it now on in review. And one of the things I've taken from that then is to how I then referee. I'm really focused on the long ball line, and I've altered how I actually officiate in review of having looked at that video. So it was a big mistake.
yeah, from speaking more as a coach and an official, what I find at training sessions is players will sometimes ask you questions which are hard to answer because you are looking at the game completely differently as a coach to as you are as a referee, and you sometimes don't see things that, you know, as players would expect. And so, what did I do wrong there? Or it's like, well, actually, I had my officiating head on there, and I was busy looking for a high ball or a long ball or thinking about 10 seconds, and I can't do that. And they are two distinct roles, aren't they? And I'm guessing, as I've done with coaching, when it's not often domestically you get a chance, but if you do get a chance just to sit and watch a game as a coach, watching two other coaches in action, I'm guessing the same applies as a referee, just sometimes being able to sit back at tournaments and watch other referees in action and thinking about their, you know, their positioning and clarity of their calls, things like that.
Yeah.
So I suppose we've covered a couple of key messages there. We've said about it helps you develop as a player or a coach, knowing the rules. Goalball's tactical sport, so if we can be tactical, that's beneficial. We've said it can help you develop as an individual, because we've got these kind of key skills. Another massive area for officiating from a Goalball UK point of view is help the sport to grow. I know it's forgetting about the current situation. One of the not complaints, but one of the messages often put across is, you know, we want more tournaments now. Yes, we need money to pay for tournaments, but a massive thing as well is having officials, isn't it? And we've already said that there's 10 people involved. So if we get more people involved in officiating, then hopefully we can, once this silly coronavirus has gone away and we get back to tournaments, then yeah, we may be able to have more if more people kind of put their hand up and say, yeah, I'll give it a go. And it's, you know, there's no pressure as to what you do or when you do it or how often you do it. It may be that, you know, you don't like being sat down all day, but you're happy being on your feet goal judging, or vice versa, or the thought of being in charge of the main clock is absolutely terrifying. I mean, I get a bit spooked when we've got the posh kind of basketball console in front of us. Or, you know, I'm more confident when I've got the old flip over chart scoreboard. But yeah, I think there's basically a role for everyone, isn't there? And it's whatever you're confident and comfortable doing. And goal judging in the sports hall in EIS one day may eventually lead you to the Paralympics if that's what you kind of strive to be. But equally, just being in that sports hall is in the EIS or wherever is very much appreciated. And at training sessions as well, club training sessions, that I've just kind of made reference to it there, that it does help if you've got someone that is there to officiate for you, so you can concentrate on coaching, or vice versa. So the other point is the opportunity it offers you. So it's another one for Robert. We've heard about the Europeans, but the Europeans are, you know, not really the pinnacle of the sport. What's the pinnacle of goalball then? Where are you heading to soon, hopefully?
Well, hopefully, if it goes ahead, Paralympics, I'll be off to Tokyo. Was obviously selected for last year, and then this wonderful virus put paid to the travel last year. But so rescheduled for this year. Fingers crossed it goes ahead, and we'll see.
That's to referee.
That is to referee, yes, absolutely. So yeah, it's as a level 3, you have to be level 3 to do Paralympics. So it's a relatively small pool internationally to pick from. So there's only 32 of us at the moment globally who are at level 3. So, but even at that, 32 to be one of those selected is quite an honour and a huge honour. I do feel hugely honoured. I was sort of gobsmacked when it came through, I have to say.
Yeah. So it's an opportunity for you to represent your country in a sport, essentially, isn't it? So I'm not doubting your cricket skills, but I don't believe you represented Scotland for cricket. Is that correct? Although I think anybody can't they?
Well, yeah, no, I definitely didn't. I was definitely never quite at that standard cricket-wise, but yeah.
But there you're going to be representing Great Britain out in Tokyo. Fantastic, fantastic. And I suppose that the final point in key messages, it's good fun. Stephen, you alluded to it before about the community, and everyone gets on well, don't they? And we have a good laugh. And certainly with elites, when there's nights over involved as well, there might be a shandy involved. Although obviously there's ahead the next day, not too much, but it's just
never drink at a tournament.
Just that family spirit. Right, I'm conscious that we've not really had any questions because I've been waffling on. There is another one that we got in advance from Alex Ulysses, so I'll ask that one and then we'll probably throw over to Alex Bunny to see what we've got in a chat box. So Alex Ulysses said, if you never found goalball, what do you think you'd be doing on your weekends? Is there any other role that any other sport or involvement? What do you think you'd be doing? If you put right now, we can't really say right now because there's not a lot happening right now. But so, Robert, you've already said about cricket. What are kind of your pastimes away from goalball?
Yes, well, primarily still cricket. Even at my age, I can still turn out. 4 games for the first 11 last year, which is not bad at 58, I have to say. Quite impressed with that. Other than that, well, I walk a lot. I'm an educator by nature, so I do a lot of reading and a lot of researchy sort of things. So I'm involved in a master's at the moment, so I'm at dissertation stage alongside everything else. That was all planned so that Paralympics was meant to be out of the way before I did that. But hey, so that's a lot of what I do in the past in my spare time, and obviously can't not mention the fact that I'm a West Ham supporter who are winning 2-0 at the moment. So
moving swiftly on. Stephen, I hope you're going to say what I want you to say, so we'll find out in a minute. So on a weekend, on a Saturday morning, what would you normally be doing if you weren't when you're not refereeing?
So on a Saturday morning, 9 a.m, you would probably find me in a park somewhere doing park run, which is, well, to be fair, it's got a similar feel to goalball in terms of the community. You go to a park run, even if it's one that I've never been to before, like people will talk to you, say good morning, speak to you and things like that. So yeah, that's probably the main thing I would be doing on a weekend when there's not a tournament.
It's done by 9:30. What are you doing for the rest of the weekend then?
So I'm probably going for another run on a Sunday when I feel like it, and also I'm quite into video games myself personally.
Okay, so hopefully Alex Ulysses, that answers your question. So let's see if we can get Alex Bunny live from a hotel room in Sheffield. Can you hear us, Alex?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can indeed.
Yes, I can.
Have we got any questions coming through in the chat box?
Yeah, Youssef's got one. What's the most exhilarating game that you've refereed?
It's got to be a Yorkshire derby between South and West, surely. It's got to be. Go on, Stephen, you go first.
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I quite like that question. I can't remember who was involved, but I do remember a game at an elite tournament that was quite close and probably went to double figures for both teams in terms of goals. And that was quite an interesting game to officiate and quite exhilarating, to be honest. And it's probably one of those where you have to concentrate a lot as well if there's goals flying in left, right, and centre.
Okay, Robert, how about yourself?
I'd say probably the European A men's final between Germany and Lithuania a few years, the last one, which was just, I was still a level 2 referee at the time. I hadn't done my level 3, but then being given the men's final to do was, it was terrifying. I think it's probably my first thought. But then such a close game and such good play by both sides, played in a really, really good spirit. My aim when I'm refereeing is to not be remembered, which means I haven't made any stupid mistakes really. And the players made it really easy. The coaches made it really easy. It was just a really great game of goalball, played very hard, very competitively, at very, very high standard. So
I think what's hard sometimes is actually just keeping your head on and maintaining that focus and not, even just goal judging. Sometimes your natural instincts. I suppose it's the same for the crowd if they're watching as well. If someone's made a fantastic block or scored a great goal, you almost want to clap and acknowledge it, but you have to. I'm saying remain impartial, which you do as a ref, but you just want to acknowledge it, don't you? I remember that I was a goal judge in 2012, and I found it quite strange that we got to officiate some of the GB games, and certainly when you were stood at the post next to there was one game with the GB girls that sticks to mind. There was a penalty, and Jess Luke, the right wing at the time, she came right off court to take it, and she was stood next to me. It was almost like, it sounds dramatic, but you could almost like feel her heart beating, and mine was the same. But I had to just stand there in straight face and not react. And when the ball went in, you just wanted to, go do a massive knee slide down the court, but you couldn't just stay composed. So yeah. Okay, Alex, what have we got next?
We're going to go with Sam's question first, and then we'll go to Tracy, who will come off mute. So Sam's one first is, what's the best part about being an official, and what motivates you to continue?
Stephen.
The best part about being an official is the free sweets on a table, definitely.
Easily pleased.
And what motivates me is to be stood up in the middle and burning off those calories. But no, what motivates me, I just want to become a better official. And as I say, I've got aspirations to go to a Paralympic Games one day as well. So that's probably my main motivation. And like I said before, it is a genuine feel of community and family amongst the officials as it is with the players. And that's what I enjoy the most.
Can you add anything to that, Robert? I think you summed it up quite nicely there. But is there anything?
I think it has, yeah. For me, it's the people really, as much as anything. That's the best thing. And on the international stage, I now have contacts around the world, people I'm in regular contact with through WhatsApp. So it's really all about the people. That's the best part, being an official, the best part being part of the goalball community.
Do you ever get a chance to do a little bit of sightseeing when you're away, or is it dependent on how much time you've got personally to take?
It does depend, yeah. As World Championships, they brought us out a little bit early, so we had time to actually spend time together as a refereeing team and bond, which was great fun. There were some pictures around on Facebook, I believe, of me captaining the boat as we went down around the around the canals in Malmo, which was good fun.
Okay, I think is it Tracy next? You said, Alex. Tracy, do you want to come off mute and ask your question? Brace yourself, boys. Here she comes.
Oh, hanging onto the chair.
Go on then, Tracy.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Really good to hear all this information. So one of my questions was, Robert, on the international stage, who would you say inspires you in the international players? Who's your favourite player?
My favourite. Oh, you see, I'm not allowed to have favourite players. You see, because
Ibsen will be listening. He'll be stuck off the Tokyo list. Speaking code, Robert.
We have quite good fun on some of the internationals. There was a guy, Jan Bozek from the Czech Republic, who didn't speak any English and came over to visit York Goalball Club with his girlfriend at the time. And I met him there, and anytime I referee him now, he's always telling me that I'm his favourite referee. I know, keep telling him, it's not going to get you any favours.
Thank you.
But thanks anyway, So I think, players like that, watching the German players, the way they've developed over the years, because I first refereed them at the World Youth Championships over in the States, and just seeing them come through together and become the very, very good side that they are now. So I think those sort of players inspire me. I mean,
Okay,
Dina is my inspiration as an official. You know,
Of course.
I aim.
think she inspires everyone.
Well, I know she does. I know.
She
It sounds like
inspires everyone to behave.
yeah, I think she might think she's lost me there on occasions, but yeah, I think Dina sets very, very high standards, and those are the standards I aim for. So that's sort of inspiration to be the best that I possibly can be.
Yeah,
And
brilliant.
have you, and another part of my question to you, Rob, is have you had to, what's the word, take somebody off court, take them off out of play?
Oh, remove somebody from the game. I've never had to remove a player, but I have removed a couple of coaches in my time.
That's if as a player you ever get asked to go on a referee's court, just take opportunity. I've been involved in them in the past, and that's the only time I've been sent out of sports hall, and it was all staged, but it was brilliant because you're there to challenge the referees, so you purposely make mistakes. And there's one court I remember, and it was at York St John actually, Robert. I can't remember what year it was, and there's a player that managed to play for about 3 minutes with their eye shades not on before the referee actually realised. It's great fun. Your role is to break the rules, and it's just it's entertainment. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Tracy. Where to next, Alex?
I was going to say I have got a question for
Stephen.
He doesn't fill out, but Stephen, yeah, I do.
Yeah, go on up, fire away.
Stephen. So Stephen, one of your first official tournaments, I believe, was the 18
home nations.
It was, yeah.
How much did you enjoy it because it was your first one, but B, how petrified was you?
Oh, so yeah, I did really enjoy it as my first one. I don't know if I was petrified, but it was a bit daunting, like doing your first tournament. But as you say, I wasn't there on my own. I was there with other people. I was there with Tom, who was officiating for the first time as well. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Bit daunting at the first game, but after that, I probably kind of relaxed and got into it.
Cool. And who is your inspirational player?
I thought you should play then. I thought it just meant person. I was getting ready to wave at you, Stephen, just in case you needed a chance. But got player on the end, so that rules me out. So go on, let's have a think.
Inspirational player.
Be careful.
So this isn't my favourite player.
Politicians answer, Stephen. Politicians answer. Come on.
Yeah, so I think, to be honest, just watching anything at an elite level for me personally is quite inspirational. As hard as it can be to sometimes be watching that high ball line and the ball whizzes past you, or however fast they can throw it, I do find like the elite level of goalball quite inspirational personally.
I remember when I first started officiating, and it was probably Dina, because it normally is Dina, isn't it? Said about hearing a high ball and not seeing a high ball, and you eventually get this eureka effect, don't you? When you can hear a high ball as well as see a high ball. And I just remember when that kind of penny dropped and it happened for me. It's like, now I know what Dina's talking about. So,
yeah.
Okay, Alex, I think we've got another question from Yusuf. Did you say?
Yeah, this is a light-hearted one. From Yusuf. Can you describe any funny moments whilst officiating?
Robert?
Oh, well, there is a video of this actually on YouTube if anybody wants to go and find it. It was the Lady and Men Intercup in Malmo, and the Russian team were playing against Brazil, I think. And ball had been blocked by the Russian defender, was rolling forwards. So she went scrabbling around on her hands and knees, chasing after it. And I'm along the sideline because it looks as though it's about to come out, and I'm ready to pick it up to put it back into play. But she catches up with it, picks it up, and throws it straight off court. right where I'm standing, which unfortunately, it came off court at the height of my, well, let's say my gentleman bits, shall we?
Is this a spot the ball competition? Is this
It was spot the ball
X
competition.
marks the cross? X marks the spot.
I think to my credit, I caught the ball on the rebound before it went back on court. And Judith on the other side was in hysterics because she was refereeing that game as well. Called an official's timeout for me because I was very squeaky at that moment in time and probably wouldn't have been able to say very much at all. And I have to say, all credit to her, she did resist the temptation to say equipment check.
Very sporting.
I thought so.
Stephen, anything for
you?
you?
Beware of Russian goalball players.
I think for me, it is that, like, probably one of the funniest moments is I was refereeing a game and the ball was on my side with my team, and I was in charge of starting the game, and I completely forgotten that I was in charge of starting the game, and about 10 seconds later I suddenly realized. But yeah, it is funny when that happens, but yeah.
I think one of the freshest, most recent ones, considering we've not played goalball for a while, for me was Phil Green at the intermediate trophy back in March when he was behind the goal somehow, getting ready. Experienced goalball player who completely lost his orientation. Yeah, he was halfway into Birmingham city centre, I think, and oblivious to it. So yeah, been some good ones. So okay, is there any more burning questions, Alex, or are those the key ones?
Yeah, there's no more in the chat. So I think
of them have been overlapping, haven't they? I think so. Hopefully we've covered it. Well, we could continue talking for ages, but I'm conscious of the clock as per usual. Like a good official, got my eye on the clock. Just gonna let Alex give us a bit of an overview of the introduction to officiating course, because hopefully on the back of tonight, if not yourself, you might be able to persuade a partner or a friend to kind of get involved and help our sport to borrow Mr. Dobson's quote, get bigger and better. So help us grow this pool of officials. You've heard that it's good fun, despite some of the minor injuries that may occur. And we never got around to the foreign pack lunches, Robert, but we won't, probably best we're not.
Oh, we'll skip over that.
So hopefully it's inspired some people to get involved. So Alex, how can they get involved? How can they start their refereeing or officiating journeys?
Yeah, so we're at Goalball UK going to be launching very soon an introduction to officiating course, which is going to be online, and this will be the first step in the Goalball UK officiating pathway. The course aims to kind of just introduce the sport and then the key rules, and it also guides people through the different table officiating roles that you heard Stephen and Rob talking about this evening, and also the goal judging. And on the course, there's also a VI awareness module for maybe people coming from outside the sport who maybe have not worked with people with a vision impairment before. So it gives people a bit of a background to that as well. Following the online course, it's then up for each person to attend a Goalball UK tournament and basically experience the different table officiating roles and the goal judging to kind of find out if they enjoy it. And that kind of is supported by and will be supported by Goalball UK staff and experienced officials. So it's not kind of do the online course, turn up, and then you're expected to kind of know exactly what you're doing straight away. It's just about introducing you to the rules and the roles so that when you come to a tournament, you feel more comfortable about being involved. And as I said, staff and experienced officials will be there on hand to help out. Once you've kind of done your day of officiating, you will get a certificate, and then also you'll become a Goalball UK activator, and you'll receive a t-shirt and a branded activator pack. So it's kind of like the first, I guess, introduction to officiating, and then from there you can kind of take it as far as you want to. So we're hoping it's going to be a new entry point for people looking to get involved. The course has been designed so it will support people who are brand new to the sport, but also those already involved who are interested in kind of getting more involved at tournaments and starting their officiating journey. I think it's really important just to say, like, we don't expect everyone to kind of go on to referee at the Paralympics. If you're just happy helping out 3 times a year and being a table official, you're still making a great contribution to the sport, and particularly to Goalball UK. As Catherine highlighted, volunteers and officials really are the lifeblood of being able to deliver competitions for the clubs. So the more people we can get involved, really the better. When we go live, all the information will be going out on our website, social medias, and out to clubs about how to sign up. So if you are interested from tonight and listening to Rob and Stephen, then yeah, more information will be coming soon. So yeah, we're excited to launch it, and we hope it's going to be a new course to kind of attract people to helping out, and yeah, delivering goalball to the players, which yeah we're all about. So yeah, hopefully that's a good summary of what's to come over the coming months.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So just finally, a big thank you to Stephen and Robert for your time. Hopefully everyone that's been listening live tonight or watches it back in the future and takes a lot from it. As usual, if there's any follow-up questions, please email them in. I'll land Tom in this one since he's not here, and just email them to tom.dobson@goalballuk.com, I think. But yeah, seriously, if you haven't got any questions that you think of afterwards, because sometimes that happens, isn't it? It's like, oh, why didn't I ask that? Then please email in. And hopefully we will do another time out within the next couple of months or so. So thank you very much, everyone.
Well, thank you.